welcome.
Namaste, beloved ones, and welcome to our fiery April. This is an extraordinary month, so much happening, and a lot around the number 4. It's the 4th month of the year, a lot around the fire. It's just a big month, Sri.
Well, you know, when I grew up, did I grow up?
I was like, where are we going with this? I don't know.
There was that rhyme, April showers, you know.
Not this April. Bring May flowers.
Bring May flowers, yeah. And, you know, it's funny to remember that because this April is a little different.
Yes.
We're not in that traditional flow of springtime momentum.
Yet, in a way, we are. You know, it's that non-traditional shower. You know, the April showers. Only this month is very much about being showered with fiery energy, and so we want to dive into that and what that really means, because the universe is very much heated up right now. The planet is heating up right now. And so this word fiery has an overlay in many different aspects. But the number one thing we want to begin with is this. In this month of April, whatever you fear will come forward. And so it's extremely important to say to yourself, have I really prepared to walk through fire? And let's talk about that.
You know, it's funny. It's kind of like there's a fear mirror.
Yeah, called fire.
Yeah, that when fear is latent in our being, you know, and it's just below the waterline of your awareness, it finds expression through the environment and mirrors back at you, and that's what's getting magnified. Is that things that you fear will start rippling if you have not healed them, if you have not brought the presence of love.
And if fear is the overlay of your life, you know, it's we all have little fears. That's I want to be really clear here, Sri, and I want to make sure you're clear. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about that energy, the propelling energy. Do you live your life on a fear-based level, or do you live your life through a trusting level? This is very important.
Real fundamental orientation that, and as you stop and breathe and reflect, so often people are calculated and calculating and seeking to control and wanting to know what's ahead from a standpoint of need to control. That's a fear-based reality. That reality is foundationed on a, let's just say, a lack of buoyancy and trust. Now, if that's your reality, it's time to heal it. If you want, if you would enjoy that, it's time to heal it. And healing is always available, and healing always happens through love. Yeah. It begins through loving attention, loving witness, and then aligning yourself with the authentic energy of your divine love. That's a whole nother story. The key is we must be aware. We must be aware. Versus being in the place of the mantra of self-ascension, being in the place of I'm here, I am ready, and that energy of surrender to the divine, then we're living in the guide me, in the trust. And that energy offers us flow.
You know, whenever anything comes to closure, another gift comes forward. And in April, this is the month of fiery resurrection. And you might be saying to yourself, how do those two words go together? Well, the reality is they do. Because think about it this way. When we step into the divine flame of transmutation, we go through a fiery transmutation. And so the energy of this resurrection is here, right now, this month. So the question is, have you really prepared to walk through the fire? And Sri and I, you know, the universe is so amazing. Last weekend, we were given that gift viscerally, I mean tangibly. It started with, we live on the side of a mountain. And right now in Guatemala, it's very much our dry season. So everything's
very
a tinderbox. I mean, it's a tinderbox. And it's hot. It's very hot. And this is very typical before our rainy season begins. And we, last week, I believe it was on Friday, just across the street from us, there's a road up here, a regular paved road. Well, it's on the mountain, because we live on the mountain. Well, that side of the hill was burning and burned all the way up to the road, which is what, 500 feet from our house?
Yeah, the road across from our little lane. And so that fire always brings with it a sense of alarm and concern because of the dry nature of the season and the fact that there's brown, dried up grasses and tree limbs and lots of fuel. Fuel for the fire.
Indeed, and you know, it was really quite powerful to be recognizing that there's nothing you can do. You know, there's really nothing you can do when you have a wildfire that's out of control, and I know many of you have probably experienced this or know of people that have lived through it. All you can do is manage the fire, but can you really put it out? The answer is no. And so this fire stopped, fortunately, because of the road, so it never jumped over. Had it jumped over the road, it would have directly come into our home. So it was a very good lesson, and we were very, clear about that. And we thought, okay, good way to begin April. However,
It's one point of view.
exactly, bring us to Sunday night. Shri and I are relaxing, we're watching a movie, and we get a telephone call. And the telephone call happens to be from our insurance agent who lives down in Antigua. Again, we live up on the mountain. So he calls Shri.
And he says to me, "Are you safe?" And I go, "Of course I'm safe." And he said, "No, Shri, there's a fire on the hill in your area. Is it close?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure. Let me look out the window."
And lo and behold, talk about not seeing what's right in front of you. Because of the way the wind was going, we weren't smelling anything.
It was
but
coming up the side.
When we went outside, I go out and this fire is on the other side. I look to the left and there's huge flames and billows of smoke, and Shri saying, "Oh, don't care, those are all lights." I'm like, "Shri, that is not light. That mountain's never lit. We're never lit here." And when we look to our right, the fire on the other side of the road had reignited.
And restarted. So we looked on both sides, and there's that glowing orange fuego, the flame.
Big time.
And we kind of looked at each other and we went,
Okay, so we have dogs to evacuate, we have Amazon parrots to evacuate, not an easy thing to do. And the gift was this, that it was interesting because we were suddenly getting a barrage of calls from people because this fire was so big and so wild and so fast moving that the people down in Antigua were watching it, and our home from certain areas of Antigua can be seen. And so people were calling us saying, do you want to come to my house? Do you need to leave? Do you want to bring your pets here? So it was a fascinating and powerful prelude for literally, Shri and I were put in the center of the fire.
And the interesting thing is, after the first apprehension, when we first glimpse things, we see the fire, we feel
and you see these huge flames,
the
and
threat
the
of
smoke.
it, or the concern, there's that wave of, oh, now what do we do? And then after the wave of preoccupation or
Right,
anxiety,
that moment.
after that moment passes, then there's the moment of, well, are we really at risk? Are we really in danger?
And we went into our divine connection and heard clearly, no, you are protected.
There's no danger to us. And so we looked and we gave a ring to another neighbor down the lane to say, pay attention, just pay attention, there's a fire nearby. And we watched the fire have its evolution. And it grew and then it declined. And then we heard the sirens in the distance and the local fire people bringing the water trucks up.
And we did not,
contain it.
exactly, yet we did not engage the fire. Ironically, there was nothing we could do. We couldn't even wet down the area around our home because the water to our home had been interrupted for 6 days at that point. So we were out of water and we were in the middle of a fire, and I would say that's about as dramatic as it could get. You're in the middle of a fire with no water and no way to really get around you because you're encircled. And again, we're sharing this with you because how perfect that the universe, and I remember, Shri, going back many years ago when we were in the middle of the volcanic eruption and the sinkhole and the big storm, that this is the second time Shri and I have been placed in the middle of these events that are basically mimicking or mirroring the imminent energy on the planet. And so April, you're going to find yourself surrounded in a ring of fire. Now, in that ring of fire, you can find extraordinary transmutive properties and divine resurrection, or you can dive into your fear and it will get large. In this month, it's fiery resurrection. And so we invite you to consider, are you ready to walk through the fire? And if so, which fire do you choose to walk through? The fire, the flame of divine transmutation, or the flame of destruction? This is very much like a Shiva month, you know?
Yeah, and the ring of fire and the volcanic activity.
And the earthquakes. You're going to see it all get big this month.
You know, last month in the ensoulment, we were given information about a fever.
Yeah, the fevers.
Another form of fire that perhaps we're going to continue to witness.
Yes.
You know, when these events happen, there's a funny level, I say funny, meaning there's a peculiar dual perspective. On the one hand, a fire can seem threatening, and on the other hand, there can be the reassurance that all is well.
Yes.
It's like a test of your tenacity. And so as you witness these events, as you breathe, as we reside in our divine hearts, we know all is well.
And you know, we truly do. And we also want to say thank you to our beloved community. I think many of you know, you might have read the newsletter, that our beloved angel Kat has been in the hospital virtually all week with a mystery infection. They've had many different doctors, many different medicines, and fever. And so we're just smiling because she has been very clear about what's happening and just really navigating this experience beautifully. And our community has just been so supportive. And you know, if you want to reach out and send an email of support to Kat, you can send it to support@selfascension.com. She's checking those emails. I know she would appreciate it, as we appreciate her and our community. All of us are in the fire. And the gift of this is that which has been is ready to become the ash, so that truly the phoenix, the resurrection energy, comes forward. And as Shri mentioned, you know, the ring of fire is also alive and well right now as far as globally, along with the fire of conflict. And this fire of conflict will also find its voice in April. And so again, when the fire of conflict finds the voice, will you meet it with fear or trust? Will you meet it as one who is terrified, or one who is aware that everything is playing out? This is the gift and the challenge of our fiery resurrection of April.
Yeah, most powerful indeed. I'm reminded that most statues depict Archangel Michael with a sword.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of the samurai swords that are hammered in the fire.
Yeah.
And they keep putting them in the fire. They keep returning them to the fire so that they can really serve. They can really be durable and serve. And that's indeed the metaphor that we may ask ourselves, how many times do we have to be tested? How many times must we go through things?
Again?
Well, how strong would you like to be?
Exactly.
And that's the irony or the paradox of the spiritual path, is that as many times as it takes, that's how many times.
Exactly. And you know, as many times as it takes, we also want to say thank you to our community. I know many of you are registering for the home study program that we just released on quantum clairvoyance during the introductory pricing that we're making available. That ends April 17th, so if you want to take advantage of the lower pricing, grab a copy. This is a powerful home study program, under $100 and just crazy undervalued as far as the money. However, we want you to empower yourself, be your reader, grab that quantum energy, learn the MERC process, and learn how to walk into the quantum energy at will and to access that powerful information. And in addition to that, we have just a couple of spots left open for both the August Cosmic Life Regression. It's a short 4 days right here at the Self-Ascension Sanctuary with Shri and I. And during this Cosmic Life Regression program, which you also get the home study program for free as part of your registration, you will be not only taught a lot of the things we can't teach in the home study, you'll really learn the mastery of this program. You'll also be taught how to teach this program. It's a very powerful 4 days. Like I said, just a few slots left. It's a 4-day program. Come join us. I know you're ready for that. And the November personal immersion journeys, just a few spots left for that too, and then we're pretty much closed out for the year. So come join us, make the journey, because again, it's fiery resurrection. So what are you willing to do? What are you willing to resurrect? What are the ancient energies inside of you that are saying, you know, enough about my practice not being where I want it to be, or it's where I want it to be, but I want to expand it, or I want it to look even better. Enough with not having the abundance that I know I'm capable of having around me. Enough with not feeling supported by spiritual community. Come give yourself a time out and join us here in our multidimensional realm and allow yourself that gift of the cosmic life regression in August, or the personal immersion in November, or both. And to all of you that have already joined us here, thank you. We are so honored for the gift of spending time with you, and always a gift and always an honor. And so, Shri, I think that it's important for people to know that, you know, April is not a month to fear. It is a month to resurrect through the fire. Allow yourself that gift. And we're supporting that also with our radio show. Be sure to join us every Sunday. And this Sunday is actually the first part of a two-part series. And the title of this week's show is Claiming Chaos as a Gift, because truly we can. I'm going to have a sip of water.
Yeah, good idea. And so we invite you to relax into the trust of your own divine nature evermore. How many times do we need to relax into that? As many times
as it takes.
As we stray away from it. You know, living in density is let's just say we're constantly multitasking. And as we live in our physical bodies, as we have our human experience, it can seduce us often to relax our full vision. It's important that we continue to do our practices, we continue to cultivate our trust and faith in the divine nature of the universe, and bring that into our consciousness every single day. Do the practices. Do what it takes for you to be in the joy of your essence.